Pelican Bay State Prison is a supermax prison in Crescent City, California. The 275-acre prison takes its name from a shallow bay on the Pacific coast, about 2 miles to the west. An X-shaped cluster of buildings comprise a quarter of the prison's facilities and have become an infamous staple in the American prison system, known as the Security Housing Unit, or the SHU. This high-violent, highly segregated facility contains over 1,000 solitary confinement cells organized into 132 8-cell pods containing some of California's most violent inmates. Such was the case when on July 29, 2022, within Pelican Bay State Prison, 2 Norteno gang members would get into a fight, leaving one brutally wounded and eventually left for dead.
The word is out among convicts. The one place you don't want to go is Skeleton Bay. That's what the inmates there call Pelican Bay State Prison in California. And you sure don't want to end up in the Security Housing Unit there, known as the SHU, the toughest maximum security prison in the United States. The state of California that runs it proudly proclaims it's the wave of the future, designed to isolate prisoners who they insist are out of control, too violent, too unpredictable, to be housed with the run-of-the-mill murderers and rapists. But to the men who are locked up there, especially in its SHU, Pelican Bay is simply torture, a living hell where inmates are brutalized and sometimes driven insane. Behind this razor wire is the infamous SHU at Pelican Bay, its security housing unit. Windowless, high-tech, silent, grim, concrete bunkers. Pelican Bay's SHU is inside Pelican Bay State Prison, with 1,500 inmates, incorrigible, sent here from California's other prisons to isolate them. And they do hard time here in the SHU. Time here is like hard time in no other prison. James Gomez is director of the California Department of Corrections, the man in charge of all of California's prisons. He says Pelican Bay's SHU is reserved for inmates who commit crimes while they are in prison.
If you commit 5 murders on the outside, you don't go to Pelican Bay. If you commit 10 murders on the outside, you do not go to Pelican Bay. If you stab staff and you stab other inmates, you go to Pelican Bay. What Pelican Bay is for is to isolate those individuals who come into the prison system and cannot behave within the prison system.
Built at a cost of $250 million, Pelican Bay was designed as a massive automated isolation unit using state-of-the-art technology. Inside the SHU, no bars, but specially designed steel doors, no direct sunlight ever, and no direct contact with another inmate. For 22.5 hours a day, inmates are kept in their cells, and for 24 hours a day, the inmates are under the control of heavily armed guards.
The Department of Corrections investigating the murder of a Monterey County man who was an inmate at a prison in Northern California. Medical staff there say they responded to an attack at Pelican Bay State Prison in Crescent City. Investigators say that Fernando Torres Lopez attacked another inmate in a day room. That inmate died less than an hour after the attack. That inmate was also serving a 25-year sentence for attempted second-degree murder. Lopez has been placed in segregated housing as the prison investigates.
In recent years, smaller cities across the country have begun to notice an increase in violent youth gangs, previously seen in big cities like New York and Chicago. But the big cities are still the main spawning ground for packs of youths, many of them jobless school dropouts, who find a sense of pride and identity in a gang. And the toughness of that world is spelled out in Los Angeles, where the handwriting on the wall can mean death. Richard Schlesinger reports.
Now you take your butt home.
It is just another day in South Los Angeles, one of the roughest neighborhoods in the city.
Want to play hard? We can play hard.
These sheriff officers play hard because they are up against some of this city's 40 to 50,000 street gang members, some of LA's most violent criminals.
Turn around, put your hands on the car.
The police have arrested many of these people before, for robbery, for selling drugs, and for murder. Last year, 328 people were murdered in gang wars. Gang members often advertise who will be killed. In these neighborhoods, the graffiti is more than just paint on a wall. If you know how to read it, it's like a newspaper whose headlines tell which gangs are fighting. L.A. Police Detective Ron Sanchez knows how to read the wall.
One gang here is in the red lettering, and they put their gang graffiti name up here, abbreviated. The other gang in the black has come by and crossed them out, and then they put in their name over it, and that's the challenge.
Simply crossing out names on a wall has led to murders as gang members violently defend their territory.
They're saying, don't come over here. If you do and we catch you, we're going to kill you, stab you, shoot you, whatever we got to do. You don't belong here.
But the threats are not just on the walls. They're also in this magazine, Teen Angels, a magazine for gang members. This drawing sent into the magazine shows a member of one gang with a rifle shooting two rivals. Another shows a member of one of the largest Hispanic gangs standing over a dead body with his gun still smoking. The dead body is marked with the initials of a competing gang. A gang this young man, called Moscow or The Fly, belongs to.
Well, why would they put this in the magazine?
So we can see it.
Well, does this make you mad when you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had sticks and stuff in their hands.
In neighborhoods where gang violence is common, making someone mad more often than not leads to a beating, or worse.
I know of gang members that have told me they were jumped on, assaulted by other gang members because of what appeared in Teen Angel magazine.
The publisher of Teen Angels insists he screens out the threats gang members send in to be published. When we tried to interview David Holland about his magazine, he hid behind his gate.
And we don't need any assistance to keep spreading the hatred between these gangs.
It's an ongoing battle for the police. This year's gang murder rate has already exceeded last year's. If it keeps going at this pace, the average death rate for gang members will be about one a day. Richard Schlesinger, CBS.
Benito and Santa Clara counties.
Could Nike's new Air Jordan basketball shoes spark deadly gang violence? That's what Bay Area police and authorities in surrounding areas fear, and now they're trying to prevent it. Tony Russomanno explains from Salinas.
Police in San Jose and several other Northern California cities say they are intensely interested in Nike's latest Air Jordan basketball shoes. What got their attention was a letter to Nike from the mayor of Salinas warning that the shoes could lead to violence. The police interest is not in who's wearing them necessarily, but in what it means when they do.
Our biggest concern is that a nationally distributed product by a internationally known corporate name would be used to further promote the ideologies of a criminal organization.
That organization would be Northern California's Norteno street gang.
And Michael pulls up and buries the shot to give him a 1-point lead.
The shoes are the 14th edition of basketball superstar Michael Jordan's wildly popular line. So they carry the number 14 in Roman numerals in a red circle on the sole. The color and the numerals XIV are used by Norteno gang members to identify themselves. The letter N is the 14th letter of the alphabet. And gang members mark their territory with their symbols.
You can imagine seeing them walking through dirt alleys or something, leaving little XIVs all over the floor, you know.
Gang outreach workers say even non-gang members who unknowingly display a gang symbol in a rival's territory have been shot and stabbed. The shoes cost $150 a pair. You might think that price would put off a lot of potential buyers, but Salinas police say local stores have sold out of their first 2 shipments and won't even be getting any more in until March. Nike says they have no intention to stop selling them, but the company is taking out newspaper ads in Salinas and Chico this weekend to emphasize what a spokeswoman calls the company's and Michael Jordan's values.
The solution is helping build strong communities and helping build strong programs, and that's where we choose to focus our efforts on in addressing this issue. That truly is the answer.
Police say it would be futile to try to prevent sale of the shoes. Instead, they want parents to be aware of what their kids are wearing and why they're wearing it. In Salinas, Tony Russomanno, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
A Monterey County convict is dead after the state's Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation says he was attacked by another inmate. It happened at the Pelican Bay State Prison on Friday. CDCR says 22-year-old Uriel Otero, on your left, was attacked by Fernando Torres Lopez on your right. Otero was in prison for attempting to kill a teenager in Soledad in May of 2021. His cause of death has not been.
We are beginning tonight with a protest happening outside the Monterey County Jail over inmate living conditions. Action News 8 reporter Christian Balderas is live at the protest with the latest on the situation there. Christian?
Dan, Aaron, this is the second protest in regards to the rights of these inmates inside the Monterey County Jail. If you take a look behind me, there are tons, about 25 or 30 inmates who are behind me, behind the camera, in the median of the road. You're hearing this honking right now. That's because they're holding up signs that say things like honk for basic inmate rights, honk for starving inmates, honk for human rights. Meanwhile, about a quarter of the mile down to my right is the Monterey County Jail, and their loved ones, these inmates, have been on a hunger strike for the past 7 days. I spoke to one of those inmates just a few moments ago, and he said that he's lost 15 pounds in the past week. He says that his fellow inmates are experiencing the same thing, but they just had to get weighed by the jail out of concern. In Salinas, people are protesting on behalf of their locked up loved ones who are on a hunger strike. The jail says no one's health is at risk.
Initially it was the vast majority of the jail. Now it's down to 2 blocks and a few other people outside of that block, but it's probably less than 150 people now.
Inmates say living conditions inside the Monterey County Jail has always been bad, but about 2 months ago, the sudden stop of eye care packages was the straw that broke the camel's back. Eye care packages allows an inmate's loved ones to buy and send snacks and other goods. They say commissary has gotten too expensive. A protester spoke on the matter, but on the condition of anonymity. They fear retaliation.
From my understanding right now is that they're stretching out what they have, so they're sharing.
Jail denies that allegation and says they stopped eye care because the jail cannot handle the additional waste, like wrappers flushed down the toilet. They say inmates are actually hoarding food.
Prior to the hunger strike, they stockpiled commissary. We sold much more commissary in the 2 weeks prior to this hunger strike than we would normally sell. So they've stockpiled it and they have it stored away in their cells. So they're actually, most of, if not all of them, are actually eating.
Meanwhile, the jail has stopped all in-person visitations due to COVID concerns. They also temporarily stopped video calls due to tech problems, which the jail alleges was caused by the inmates.
The reason for them not allowing visitation is due to COVID, but then again, they're not testing for COVID and they're not checking the inmates. They're just throwing them in there. They're getting sick. I had my cousin get sick when he came in. He's been there for about a month and he's barely recovering.
Protesters are demanding the jail increase COVID safety measures, expand access to in-person or remote visitation, and better general living standards, like access to more than one set of clothes and more opportunities to shower and socialize.
I say it's not fair. We're all human. They're basic human needs, not just inmate needs. They're basic human needs.
Now the jail says that they are taking COVID precautions. They say that they're requiring all inmates to wear a mask, and they're also isolating any inmate that comes in with COVID. They said that they had an outbreak back in July and that 26 people got COVID, but they weren't able to provide any updated stat other than that. Reporting live in Salinas, I'm Christian Balderas, KCBW, Action News 8.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Green Lit Gang TV. Much love, much appreciation doing this one a little later in the evening. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for all of the support, all of the feedback, all the comments. The last video is doing really well. Thank you so much for that. Go check it out if you haven't. And also, really quick, a lot of times I forget to mention this, but please, if you like what you are listening to, what you're watching, leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Please subscribe. It means a lot. I put a lot of effort into this. You know, if you don't like it, hey, you don't got to watch it. But if you do like it and you're a regular to the channel, just hit the subscribe button. Not a big deal. Means a lot to me. But anyway, let's jump right into it here. So, like we talked about in the beginning with Pelican Bay State Prison, I want to dive a little bit more in depth. I'm just going to read more basically information on Pelican Bay State Prison. It's one of those that I feel like is, like I said in the intro, like a staple within American prison system when you hear Pelican Bay. When I hear Pelican Bay, I think of the movie Training Day with Denzel Washington when he's talking about, you know, I'm going to have you N-words playing basketball in Pelican Bay. It's just one of those. And because of the SHU, segregated housing unit, extreme isolation, they lock up the worst of the worst. But it's one of those that is ripe for controversy because of the lengths that the segregation goes to and the very sometimes not good reputation that Pelican Bay has carried over the years. You know, we're going to just kind of jump right into it here. So Pelican Bay State Prison, it's a Supermax prison in Crescent City, California. It opened in 1989, okay? Now, to give you an idea of the location, I put up some pictures of it, but really, I didn't really know where Pelican Bay was at. I didn't have any idea that it's really just south of the Oregon border. It's location of Crest City and Del Norte County and location of Del Norte in California. And the prison is located in a detached section of Crescent City. Now, Crescent City is really the only incorporated area of Del Norte County, and it's several miles north of the main urban area and just south of the Oregon border. Pelican Bay State Prison opened in 1989, like we talked about in the intro, 275 acres, and grounds and operations are physically divided. Now, talking about the SHU, it's an X-shaped cluster, and it just gives it even more of that intimidation. You get the aerial view shots of that place, and it just is not welcoming. The first thing that stands out to me, honestly, when I see that picture, yes, the buildings, but the trees. Those really tall, I don't know what kind of trees they are. Comment down below if you do know what kind of trees they are, but there's just the really tall trees, the thick, dense forest. That's what caught my eye when I look into that. So, like we talked about, it compromises a quarter of the prison's facilities and are known as the security housing or the SHU. Over 1,000 solitary confinement cells, organized 132 8-cell pods. Furthermore, each cell is 8 foot by 10 foot. That is small, and contains a concrete ledge with a foam pad to be used as a bed, a steel combination sink and toilet, and 2 concrete cubes that serve as a desk and a chair. Armed guards monitor 6 pods of 48 cells at once from the central control booth. Remember, this is the SHU. Through perforated steel doors that make it easy for guards to see in, but difficult for prisoners to see out. Cell doors are controlled remotely, and prisoners can be allowed out to shower or to exercise in each 8 foot by 20 foot pod solitary exercise yard. It's just, you're an animal. You are literally a caged animal. You're going to go from your 8 foot by 10 foot cell into the 8 foot by 20 foot recreation yard. Half of the prison holds level 4 maximum security inmates in a general population environment with 2-man cells. The remaining prison houses level 2 inmates in an open cell dormitory style facility for 500 individuals and level 1 minimum security prisoners in the facility for 400 individuals located outside of the main perimeter of the prison. I didn't know that. Sometimes there's topics or things that will come up that I'll think, man, I don't need to recover that because everybody already knows everything about Pelican Bay, right? Who hasn't heard of the SHU? If you watch a channel like mine, who hasn't heard of the SHU? I've watched so much content on these topics and prison gangs and prisons in general and violence and guard corruption and on guards. I feel like I've covered every angle, but I didn't know some of the exact designs. I didn't know how many solitary confinement cells there were. And I didn't know that there were level 1 inmates on the outside of the perimeter of the prison. I really didn't know that. As of March 2022, over 1,800 people were incarcerated at Pelican Bay State Prison, with a little over 1,100 of those inmates being level 4 max security prisoners, and 290 of which were located in the security housing unit. So you got to be a special individual to get there. You're going to be a serious gang leader. You're going to be someone that is a very high violent person. It's going to attack staff. You're going to attack, any sort of cellmate, any sort of person they put you around. But really, this channel is going to concentrate on like the gang leaders. They're going to put the guys with the most influence, able to corrupt the most amount of people, basically with the longest reach. They're going to try to isolate them. That was the whole point of the SHU, the whole point of the security housing unit, the whole point of segregation in general within the American prison system. Same that you see with ADX Florence. It's just to isolate you as much as possible and to cut off all human contact. So, really quick, read a brief history or a brief article on the history of violence in Pelican Bay. After Pelican Bay State Prison opened in 1989, guards eager to assert their dominance over the inmates established a culture of violence. Inmates in the SHU were beaten, tied, and left naked or subjected to stage, quote, gladiator fights by guards who would intentionally release 2 prisoners from enemy gangs and then shoot at the prisoners after they began fighting. I did not know this. Von Dortch, who was serving a 10-year sentence for grand theft and whose mental illness had worsened since being moved to the SHU, was taken in April 1992 to be bathed by guards after smearing himself with feces. 5 or 6 guards subjected Dortch to a bath in scalding water while he was handcuffed, leaving him with 2nd and 3rd degree burns. Oh my God. Prisoners were also regularly housed 2 to a cell in the SHU due to overcrowding, with 364 prisoners double bunked in 1990 and approximately 1,000 double bunked by 1995, leading to serious injuries from cell fights. So they're basically putting guys that shouldn't be with anybody in multiple man cells. And you can just use your imagination on the things that probably went on in those early 90s to mid-90s times. Media attention, including a September 1993 60 Minutes report about the brutality against Dortch, and lawsuits ultimately led to changes at Pelican Bay State Prison. Federal District Court Judge Thielen Henderson ruled in the 1995 Madrid v. Gomez decision that the facility was not being ruled in a constitutional way and ordered oversight by prisoners' rights lawyers and other experts. Henderson's ruling specifically demanded changes to the use of excessive force by guards, inadequate medical and mental health care, and the practice of housing mentally ill prisoners in the SHU. Now, hopefully, as you're hearing me talk, you got to see the 60 Minutes piece, at least part of it. YouTube really fights me on using it, and others like it. So if you aren't watching it, it's not my fault, guys. I do try to put it in there. I try to put as much good content, as much of the stuff that I like, and that's the stuff that I want you guys to know. This channel, the way I made my videos, it's how I like to consume this sort of content. There's a really good channel I want you guys to watch. I have no problem admitting it. I modeled my channel. I took a lot from this channel. It's called Pop-A-Lot. He covers somewhat similar people, but also very different as far as some of the crime figures. He's really heavy on the East Coast, African-American gangs. But I watched his videos for years. He's got like 260,000 subscribers. Go support his channel. He's awesome. He's got a killer intro. Go check it out. Just type in Pop-A-Lot on your YouTube search. That guy's awesome. I love his channel. And if you like something like mine, you're absolutely going to love his. But what I'm saying is, man, I fight YouTube on a lot of this stuff. YouTube's great. I love the platform. Don't get me wrong. They're amazing. But, yeah, I sometimes struggle to get certain pieces in, but it's all good. Regardless, if you can't watch it online, just go check it out. Just type in 60 Minutes, Pelican Bay. You guys can watch it. So that brings us to our main story today. 2 Norteno inmates go into a cell, or I'm sorry if they don't go into a cell. They're in the day room. Only one of those guys walks out of the day room. So this is from an article on August 1st, 2022, pertaining to an attack that took place July 29th. We're just going to read right from it. Del Norte County, California Department of Corrections Rehabilitation, CDCR, officials are investigating the July 29th death of an incarcerated person at Pelican Bay State Prison as a homicide. On Friday, July 29th, at approximately 5:33 p.m., officers and medical staff responded when incarcerated persons Fernando Torres Lopez allegedly attacked incarcerated person Uriel Otero in a housing unit day room. Otero was taken to the prison's triage and treatment area for treatment of injuries he sustained from the attack. However, he was pronounced dead at 6:20 p.m. Torres-Lopez, 23, was sentenced on August 16, 2021 in Santa Clara County to serve a 19-year, 8-month sentence for attempted second-degree murder, carrying a firearm in public with a prior felony conviction, and 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon in the commission of a street gang act. So we talk about those gang enhancements. Those are always going to get you. He's a Norteno gang member. Very obvious by the facial tattoos. And what I find interesting in this is he wasn't in there very long. So he gets sentenced in August of 21. So by the time he gets to Pelican Bay, let's just say he arrives end of September, October time, within 9 months, he has already committed his first murder. That's just how this stuff goes, man. Otero, 22, was sentenced on July 8th, 2021 in Monterey County to serve 25 years for attempted second-degree murder with use of a firearm and inflicting great bodily injury in the commission of a street gang for trying to kill a 17-year-old with a firearm in Soledad, California in May of 2019. Officials have limited population movement on the yard to facilities, the investigation being conducted by PBSP's Investigative Services Unit, that's Pelican Bay State Prison's Investigative Services Unit, the Del Norte County District Attorney's Office, and the Del Norte County Coroner. Torres-Lopez has been placed in segregated housing pending the investigation. The Office of the Inspector General was notified, and the Del Norte County Coroner will determine Otero's official cause of death. So 2 things really quick. Just so you guys know, so there's no confusion. They weren't in the SHU. They weren't in segregated housing unit. This was in a day room. For whatever reason, Torres took off on Otero and ended his life. Now he's going to go to somewhere like segregated housing unit. And that's what the SHU is for, right? Gang leaders, people that commit extreme acts of violence. You murder someone behind the prison walls. They're already in a pretty high security, high risk area. You do something like that, man, you're never going to see the light of day again. And I imagine for someone like Torres, you get a 20-year sentence. It just becomes like kind of like an F it sort of a thing. Like, you know what? What do I got to lose? I'm going to be the biggest, baddest dude around. I'm going to rise through the ranks. And if somebody gets out of line, I'm taking my chance to get the attention, to get the respect, and I'm going to end them. The second thing I was going to say is I have a feeling within Del Norte County, because Pelican Bay lands in Del Norte County, I bet you a lot of their crimes they deal with or stuff that goes through the courts, I bet you it's stuff that happens within Pelican Bay. It'd be interesting to find out, but yeah, I bet you they deal with a lot of stuff like this. So, no staff members or additional incarcerated people were injured as a result of this incident. And I just wanted to talk about Pelican Bay State history as what we just previously had talked about. So, one thing I want to talk about is this was, I was really checking with these guys. I looked them up, and pretty much right away, you can tell they're Norteno gang members. Now, I did see a comment that was interesting, and I totally agree with this. Not that it's true. I will say it. Not that it's true. But when you see a picture of Fernando Lopez or Torres-Lopez, and then you see a picture of Uriel Otero, I do immediately think that, man, Torres-Lopez looks like the much more hardened individual, even though they're very close in age. He's 23, Otero's 22. Otero, he's got the dots, the 1-4. You can tell he's the Norteno. But Torres-Lopez, man, he is covered with Norteno tattoos, and he just looks more hardened. I'll just say this. If you put their pictures up and said this crime happened, and I want you to guess who killed who in this situation, I bet you 99% of you would say he killed him. Whether that means anything or not. And I know I'm going to get comments that some of the baby face looking guys with no tattoos are the meanest, baddest dudes. I'm not even saying it's tattoos. You just get the vibe when you look at the pictures that, yeah, that guy is just maybe, not that Otero wasn't about it. He got to where he's at for a reason within the prison system, within his gang. Just that Fernando Torres-Lopez looks like he might be willing to go a little bit further and do whatever it took to be dominant within that environment, within that subculture of prison life, extreme prison life. If you're in Pelican Bay, man, you're living dangerous. So I was kind of struck with that. And then I was struck with the fact that they were both Norteno gang members. I couldn't find more specifics on why the attack took place. I couldn't find out why he did it. The one thing I was relieved about is I can't tell you, because the media a lot of times doesn't, because law enforcement doesn't want them to. They don't like to give the name of the gang, of the person that's arrested. Sometimes, man, it is so hard to, obviously the facial tattoos. Yes, 50% of the time, that's how I can do it with my videos right away. I can tell if it's Norteno, that helps a ton, right? Or, if it's a white boy, you see neo-Nazi tattoos, 1488, lightning bolts, SS, whatever. There's some tells there, but they were both Nortenos. So I'd be really interested to know what happened, if it's something, a beef from the street, infighting, if there was something with disrespect, if somebody owed money. I don't know if they deemed Otero no good. I really, really don't know. Because, again, the one thing I find interesting, Torres-Lopez was not in there long. 7, 8 months, 9 months, and he took off on this guy. And Otero hadn't been in there terribly much longer, but, I just found it interesting. Neither one of them were. Otero got sentenced Monterey County, 25 for attempted, and Torres-Lopez, August in Santa Clara County. Yeah, so a month apart. Man, so they're even arriving around the same time. That's insane. I don't know. Beef from the street? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know. Why do you think Torres-Lopez attacked Uriel Otero? I really, really would love to know. If somebody actually does know, please comment down below. Anyway, much love, much appreciation. Until next time, you already know what it is. Peace.